Marine Reserves by Tracey. Marine reserves are an increasingly controversial topic not only in Australia but worldwide as we fight to keep our major fish species from being depleted. Since 1988, the standard catch rate has not risen due to 47 to 70% of all species being overfished. This is a major issue in today's society which needs to be addressed carefully and quickly, as many populations in industries rely on fishing not only as an income but as a food source.
Marine reserves are an entire ecosystem protection. What we're trying to do with them is to create the conditions for recovery from past impacts and harm done by people. They protect the full spectrum of wildlife in them, from the smallest microbe to the largest marine mammals and fish.
1998 saw the Australian government agree that a governing body would be set up to be put in charge of the construction and continued efforts of marine reserves in Australia. This agency would be called the National Representative System of Marine Protected Areas. Since then, Australia has moved further towards a sustainable future with even more progress in this area. In 2012, the Australian government added 40 new Commonwealth marine reserves, which in total added more than 2.3 million square kilometres to the existing marine reserves, which resulted in more than 3.1 million square kilometres of Australia's coastline and aquatic zones being protected. By doing this, Australia now has the third largest total area of marine protected areas allocated, as well as the biggest individual stretch of water being protected in the world, this being the Great Barrier Reef and surrounding waters. This image from the Department of Environment depicts what will soon be all of Australia's marine reserves, stretching from coastline to coastline, including surrounding waters of Norfolk Island and Lord Howe Island. This marine park system will come into place in July 2014. When these parks take effect, it will see Australia having the largest total area of marine systems in the world, which is equal to about 4 times the total area of the United Kingdom. Image provided by the Associated Press via the Communication Partnership for Science in the Sea displays 10 ecosystems around the world in which were studied for their multi-species maximum sustainable yield. As you can see highlighted in the light blue shading, Australia, New Zealand, Alaska and Canada are leading the way by fishing under these limits, but most of Europe is still over the bag limits displayed in the orange. Minister for Parliament Katrina Hodkinson and Minister for the Environment Robin Parker have worked tirelessly to put into place 6 multiple-use marine parks, 12 aquatic reserves and 62 national parks and reserves with marine components. The New South Wales Government has incorporated these into a program which allows for education and promotion of active conservation in these areas by allowing people to use these reserves recreationally and for tourism purposes, which is a very positive step in the move towards the sustainability of our fish, as the community can take pride in showing off their local marine parks as a reserve, which usually creates a buzzing tourism destination as the fish migrate and set up territories in the area. Such examples of this is the very popular Fly Point Reserve in Port Stephens. Fly Point is a marine park sanctuary zone in Port Stephens and has long been recognised for spectacular sponge gardens and a diversity of marine life. Local dive tourism operators estimate the sites are worth approximately $14 million annually to the local economy. This sanctuary is home to a diverse range of marine life, in which includes large schools of bream, mullet, luderick and flathead. Further down the shelf provides home to creatures such as nudibranchs, decorated crabs, parkfish and seahorses, as well as endangered sea turtles and blue gropers. Marine reserves in Australia have caused a lot of controversy, as no matter where or when they are created, they are causing a positive and negative effect throughout society and the fishing industry. It becomes hard to argue against the placement of marine reserves in Australia when you consider that 99.4% of the world's oceans are fishable. The placement of marine reserves could eventually help the fishing industry, as they can act as a nursery for fish eggs and larvae that will then be dispersed into the world's oceans, which can then be caught by the fishermen being displaced by the reserves. Information like this is very helpful in the fight to promote active reserves, as it gives a positive outlook for the future for the fish, but also for the fishermen of the industries, as it can be used as something to get excited about, as well as encouraging compliance with the laws. Like most arguments, there is a negative side, and this topic is no exception. Most of the backlash from marine reserves is coming from disgruntled fishermen of the industry. The fishermen of our oceans pride themselves on big catches and hauls, which have sustained our families and communities for centuries. But unfortunately, like previously thought, our oceans are not an endless source of fish and our stocks are quickly running out. So the question is, do we continue to place marine reserves in our oceans to sustain our fish, or continue at the rate we are fishing now, which will surely end in the depletion of our fish stocks?